everybody, this is Mandy Vaughn, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Mandy Vaughn Knits, and I am coming to you to talk to you about all things regarding yarn and knitting and crochet, and sometimes machine knitting depending. I have a Silver Reed SK280 and a Dean & Beans sock machine, and I have an Addie King and a Centro 22 pin, I think. So I've got all different kinds of crafts, and I love all the crafts. So if you like to talk about crafts too, you're in the right spot. So this is my podcast, and I am from southeastern Michigan. I live there with my family, my husband and my son and my daughter. My daughter is 8 and my son is 12. So we are just in the midst of it starting to become hat season here in southeastern Michigan. So today is Monday and it is around 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's getting kind of chilly. And at least compared to what it has been, we had a pretty normal summer, you know, around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take a couple of degrees. And right now it is very cloudy and dreary, and it is screaming October outside. So I am definitely not ready for this weather. So I guess we'll see. Anyways, so for the last couple of podcasts, I've been making hats for my kiddos. That is because they go through hats. I mean, they're wearing hats every day in the winter. Obviously, we've got snow outside more often than not, or some sort of ice, or, you know how it goes if you live in a cold climate. And this podcast is going to be no different. I have a couple of finished objects, one I'm really excited about, and one work in progress, and I am getting ready, like right after I end this podcast, to cast on one more. So my first finished object is crochet. Now, I got really, really excited when I saw this this pop up in my YouTube feed, and that probably sounds really confusing, but it's because the pattern that I used, the idea that I used, was a tutorial that popped up, I think last week, from Bag A Day Crochet. And I saw it and immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, my daughter would love this. And it was a cat hat. Now, these are super cute. They're super easy as well. Look, it's just a rectangle, right? When you put it on, the ears stick out. Now, I'm going to try to put this on, and it's not going to really fit very well. But, I mean, you can get the gist of it, right? Trust me when I say my daughter looks a lot cuter wearing this. But I thought that this idea was adorable. Now, I loved this pattern because it's totally accessible for anyone just beginning to crochet. And honestly, what's cuter than a cat hat, right? So I was finishing this up and I go to my son, I'm like, hey, look, isn't this cute? I really like it. And he tried it on and he's like, you know what? Can you make me one too? So I'm like, sure, works for me. I think it's adorable. So they were both really excited about wearing these. And I am too, because look. I love it. I want to make a couple more, maybe some for me. This, the yarn that I used for both of these actually, and look, let me zoom in a little bit here. This yarn is Colorina by Hobie. It is considered a DK weight on Ravelry, and it's definitely not a DK weight. This one, I took a pink multicolored skein that I had, and I wound it into 2 separate balls. And then I crocheted holding 2 strands double. And this is what I ended up with. And I thought it looked really nice. you can tell from how it worked up that the yarn is both, it's almost like self-striping, but when you hold them together, it turned out really nice and marled. So I liked doing that. Now, this is the same way. You can actually see I used both the dark gray and the light gray skeins that I had for my son, and you can see like little stripes of pink, and it came out very marled with both the light and the dark. I thought it came out really nice. It's so cute. But I had a ton of fun making it, and it was super easy. I'm honestly hoping, see, I've taught my son how to knit in the sense that if I cast on like 80 stitches in the round, he can knit a hat until he has to decrease, and then he needs my help. But I'm hoping that if either one of my kiddos decide they want to learn how to crochet, I can teach them how using this pattern, because like I said, who doesn't want a cat hat? It's adorable. So yeah, when that popped into my YouTube feed, I was like, yes! I considered it a sign that I should definitely be crocheting the rest of this Colorina yarn, because like I had said last podcast, it was very thin and it was taking a while to work up, and I was just like over it. I'm getting pretty burnt out on hats at the moment, so I'm thinking that I'm probably going to knit maybe a handful more and then kind of give it a rest for a couple of weeks at least, and work on some garments, things that, you know, are drawing my attention a little more. So those were my 2 crochet finish objects, and I was very excited about finishing them. And let's see, I worked on the pink one when I went to my appointment on Wednesday, and I was able to finish this in just a couple of hours. It's just a little square. It doesn't even have any decreases. So, and then I cast this one on when I went to my neurosurgeon appointment on Friday. So we left here early. We left here like at 7 in the morning, and I would say that by the time I got home, I was pretty much done with this. And we were at the office, I would say we got home around 11. So it was definitely a quick, it was definitely a quick crochet. So I keep wanting to call them knit, but you could definitely do the same exact idea with knitting. Just knit up a rectangle, and then you could 3 needle bind off the top. So I could definitely see that working for both crafts. The other thing that I finished, what is my what is it? The See You There. I want to say Icy Spring. And that's because I'm getting ready to start Icy Spring. But look, it's all done. You can see my hood right here and my arms. Now, this was knit up. This yarn, let me tell you about this yarn. This yarn is, I believe, 72% viscose, and it's viscose and wool, so it's 72 whatever 28. Yeah, I'm terrible at math, like, in my head, so we're just gonna go with that. So it's 72, 28, and before I washed it, it was soft, but it wasn't, let me rephrase that. After this got washed, this turned into like the softest, it feels amazing. Like, I was not expecting this. I asked my husband if he could block it last night, and he laid it out, and we put a fan up to dry it, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Because he handed it to me just a little bit ago, and it's incredibly soft. Look at the detail on this. Now, this yarn did actually grow as well, so I was very excited about this. I'm going to put it on, even though I'm wearing a boxy, and that's kind of weird because, you know, sorry, my battery died. Okay, so this is how it looks with the, I mean, I'm obviously wearing a lace and fade boxy under it, so that's kind of weird. I would never do that normally, but you can see that I definitely have room, and oh my gosh, it's so soft. Okay, so if you have sensitive skin, as in you don't like the way wool feels because it might be a little itchy, this is not going to bother you. It is so soft. I'm trying to come up in my head what it feels like. Okay, so say a sweatshirt, right? When you have a sweatshirt and then the inside is like that really soft, like a cottony soft, I want to say like cotton balls, but it's not cotton balls, it's just the inside of the sweatshirt. It feels like that. It's that soft. It's just great. I can't believe I was not expecting that. It was hand washed, so I'm not going to say that I would feel comfortable putting it in the washer or dryer. I would definitely not do that. But I can't believe it. Look. Wow, it's like super silky. That's what it feels like. It feels like it relaxed and just got super silky and soft. I can't believe, I would definitely knit this again. So I would also definitely use this yarn again. So I finished it yesterday and I tried it on, and it was not, this loosened up quite a bit. It was probably like right here, and I got maybe a good 2 or 3 inches of just soft fabric. This turned, so with blocking, this went from a cardigan that I could, you know, give or take, just take or leave, basically. That's what I mean, not give or take. Well, I could have given it away or just left it. It wouldn't have been my favorite. But when I blocked this turned into something that I'm gonna love. This is going to be an amazing sweater to wear in the winter, and I probably wear just like a cotton t-shirt or something underneath it, a tank top. Obviously not the lace and fade boxy, that would be weird, but. So I'm trying to think of modifications that I made on this cardigan. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it down in the back because I didn't when I put it on. So modifications that I made. I made the bottom hem a little shorter, well, actually a lot shorter than Joji Locatelli wrote in her pattern. She's a lot taller than I am. And I mean, it's not hard. Everybody's a lot taller than me. I'm like 4'8" on a good day. I used to say that I was 4'11", and then a doctor measured me in his office, and now I can't say that anymore. I'm definitely 4'8", sadly. But anyways, obviously from my underarm length to the bottom hem is a lot shorter than what it had said in the pattern. I guess that's not really a modification. I did make the sleeves extra long because of the weight of this yarn. I knew that this is somewhere between a worsted and DK. I'm pretty confident in saying that they were right when on the Ravelry page for this one, it does say it's a worsted, and that's a pretty accurate assessment, I thought. But anyway, since it's heavier than I normally use, I automatically assumed that I would be wearing this more in like the deep winter months. So I wanted to make my arms long so that I could do this. This is obviously when you're outside and you don't have access to gloves, you can just pull your arms in your sleeves. That was basically a design feature that I had wanted for this. Now, I normally, or if this was knit with lighter weight yarn, if I had used fingering on this, I wouldn't have made the hood, but because, like I said, it's a heavier weight sweater, I just made the hood and I think it looks pretty cute. I cannot get over how soft this yarn turned out. It's like wearing a sweatshirt. And it's super shiny too. Another thing that I like about using the chain yarn for cables is that they pop really well. You can see them. Like, they also take pictures really well. What I mean by that is that you can see them. So one bad thing about that is that when you're knitting, you just want to make sure that you cross the cables the right way and that there are no obvious mistakes that you can't live with, because you'll definitely still be able to see them. I've knit with some fuzzier yarn that kind of might mask cable details. This is definitely not one of those yarns, so you just want to make sure that you get your details the right way. But let's see, I cast this on for the Joji Locatelli Make-a-thon, and I started exactly on September 1st. And I finished on September 17th. This was a worsted weight cardigan. So it's not a weight that I typically knit with. All of the other things that I make take a lot longer than this. The one that I'm going to cast on next for the Joji Locatelli Make-a-thon, Make-a-long. Why do I keep calling it a Make-a-thon? I know why I keep calling it a Make-a-thon. Because I'm crazy, signed up for 10 different patterns. I mean, I have no intention on making 10 different things. I just can't decide what I want to make until I'm like ready to cast it on. So I took all of the patterns that I wanted to make from Joji Locatelli, signed up for them, and then I'll just pick and choose as I complete items and we'll see where we end up. Last year I did 4. I did 2 pullovers and 2 cardigans, so I'm almost positive it's gonna end up somewhere around there. It honestly depends, because this make-along ends November 3rd, the end of November. It's either the 30th or the 31st. I'll never remember the rhyme that tells you how many days, so one of those. I know it's not less than that. How about that? But so I went to go see my neurosurgeon, and he told me that I'll get over this in life. I'll go over this later on in life stuff so you don't have to listen. But the crux of the matter is that on November 6th, I'm going to have surgery. So that is something that I have to take into account when I'm deciding what I'm casting on next and after that. But I definitely love how this came out, and it's so soft. And I love the yarn, and the yarn grew quite a bit, which made me happy. It's not even really that it grew. That was the part that made me happy. The thing that made me happy was how much it softened up. See that back? It's beautiful. This makes me want to knit the Grandpa cardigan by Joji Locatelli. And it's pretty similar to this one. The difference being that that one is knit in DK and this one is worsted. For the grandpa cardigan, I have some contenders in yarn. I have some Malabrigo that I might be able to use. I have it in both teal and fuchsia. So I guess we'll see. I'm also not sure if I'll be able to get gauge on that because a lot of people consider it to be sport instead of DK. So we'll just see how it and where it ends up. Like I said, there's no shortage of patterns that I want to do. I have a ton of fingering weight sweaters, and I've definitely got fingering weight yarn around. There is one, and I believe it's called Darling Emma, and it is a cardigan that has really thick bands that are lace, if I'm remembering correctly. It's definitely a lace cardigan, and it's one of those, I want to say like, it's almost like a boyfriend cardigan, as in it's oversized and there's multiple layers of lace that you kind of double wrap, and then there's a tie. I think it's something like that. I know it's lace and it's fingering weight and it's beautiful. I can't wait to try that one. But let's see. I only have one work in progress, and I know that you guys have seen this. Let me see. This is a Karen cake, and it's their anniversary cake. So if you are not familiar with this, you can go to Michael's and pick them up. They come in different colors, and this year they're doing like the bold colorways. That's how they refer to it on the label, the bold colorways. And this, I believe, I can't remember what it was called, but you can see the colors. I know that they had a rainbow, like a bold rainbow, and my daughter had really liked that one as well, but we ended up sticking with getting this one because she liked this more. And you'll see why as soon as I hold it up, if you haven't already, because it's got a lot of purples and pinks. Well, not a lot of pinks, it at least has some pink in it. But this is a granny square rectangle that I've been working on. And as you can see, this is what I would consider the length of it. And it's almost at my arm span. And the width is about a third of that. Now, I used a pattern from Yarnspirations, and if I had to do this again, I would have modified this pattern because I've noticed that this rectangle is about 3 times as tall as it is wide, and I don't like that. I would rather it be, say, 2 times as tall as it is wide, so it's a little bit more balanced. But I figure it's just gonna go as a couch throw, and depending on how big it gets at the end, I might need another one of these. Now, I just started the goldish orange, and after that I'm restarting the pink, and pink was what I started with. So I would say that now I'm about halfway done. Last week I mistakenly thought I was halfway done, and I'm using an M13, so that's a 9mm. The reason this isn't done yet is, well, first of all, because I've been spending like all of my time working on the cardigan, that I love how it came out. But the other reason is that crochet hook is pretty big, 9mm, and if you look at it, this is a wooden handle, and I'm not a big fan of those. When I first started out crocheting, let's see, my son is 12, so I first started out crocheting almost 12 years ago. And when I first started, I really did like the wood hooks, but as I got older and I just honestly prefer the ones that have like the foam, the cushion grips better. This just seems really awkward, especially for such a big hook size. Now, the reason I'm using the wooden hook instead of one with the foam handle is because I just don't have pretty much any type of big hooks with the squishier handles. So I'm just using what I have. I could get another hook, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. I've just been taking my time on that, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to finish it this week, but I guess we'll see, because I have some plans, and my plans are pretty exciting. Well, first of all, I've been working through the hats like I have been for a couple of weeks now, and I actually haven't put any of my hats on Ravelry. I put the sweater on Ravelry, but I haven't put the blanket on Ravelry. I've been very bad about updating the projects that go faster and then making project pages for them. So I'm going to try very hard to put these hats and the hats I made from last week at least sometime in the next couple of days, because I joined the pigskin party. And if you don't know what the pigskin party is, it's basically a big, I don't want to say competition, make-along. Well, this one is a make-a-thon, because what happens is you get points for the amount of yarn that you knit or machine knit or crochet, and you fill out point forms and you just kind of compete, and there are some pretty cool prizes that are given away. It has to do with football and runs through the football season, and I think it ends in February. It's a lot of fun, and I did it last year, and this year I'm on team 5, but I haven't put in any, like I said, I haven't put in any of my projects yet on Ravelry or submitted for the point forms, so I'm hoping to get that done soon. Anyways, all that to say that because I started that cardigan September 1st, I can't enter it in the pigskin party, but I can enter this one when I complete it. So this is my next cast on. I can't wait to do this one. Now, this is called Icy Spring, and it is like a blousey sweater. Now, the sample is knit in variegated yarn, and I'm also going to knit this in variegated yarn. Now, I've looked at the pattern, the beginning of the pattern, and it starts very similarly to the way that the lace and fade boxy starts, in that you start on the back and you work one shoulder and then the other shoulder, and then you join the shoulders, and then you do so much, and then you do the same thing for the front, and then you do so much knitting, and then you can knit them together, then you're working in the round. So I'm thinking that the first little bit of this sweater, as just with this one, is going to be kind of a slog because there's a lot of purling, but I think that it's worth it. I really do like how the shoulders fit me and how they look, and it's a drop shoulder, obviously. Obviously it's a drop shoulder, but I really do like the way that it comes out. But like I said, you're knitting the first part of the front and the first part of the back flat, and then you move to in the round. And since it's stockinette, it's a lot of purling. And that's disappointing because I really want to be able to wear this now. I really think it's pretty. Now, the description on, I'm sorry that it's black and white, that's all that we have to print with, but the description says that a relaxed pullover with lace details and a high-low hem. So if you take a look up here, right where the neck is, there's a really pretty lace, like a lace inset right there. And if on the hem, there's some garter stitch. And you can't quote me on this because I haven't looked too far ahead, but because it says it's a high-low hem, I'm hoping that you split before you start the garter stitch, so you're still just knitting, because I don't want to do more purling. I'm not a big fan of that. If for some reason it's not split, I will split it, or I will just change it to like ribbing or something, because basically if I'm going to have to purl, I'd rather have ribbing because I like it better. But this is an oversized, she says it's relaxed, but I think that it's oversized. I'm going to make a size medium, which is 47 inches, which to me is going to be about 9 inches of positive ease. And I can't wait to start. I really enjoy her patterns, which is why this time of year, I very much look forward to this time of year, because like I said, her make along comes along, and I don't know, it's just a lot of seeing how other people interpret her patterns and what they use to make them, and just a lot of fun for me. This is the yarn that I'm going to use. This is bright, isn't it? It is Madeline Tosh. It is called Kenergy. It is a throwback. Well, not a throwback. Well, okay, yeah, a throwback, because the Barbie movie is now, it's been out for a while, so it is a throwback to the Barbie movie, and I love it. This yarn is so pretty to me. It has all of my favorite colors in it. We've got neon yellow and hot pink and some purples and blues, and I honestly believe that the way that this is dyed up with such short color bursts, I've got my fingers crossed that I don't have to start alternating skeins until I get in the round. Please keep your fingers crossed for me, because having to knit flat alternating skeins is just gonna be a slog, and I don't feel like slogging right now. I am not a big fan of color pooling. I really love variegated yarns, but I like whenever the color is dispersed evenly to where there's not big splotches of it. Depending on what I'm knitting, it might be okay, but for a garment that I want to wear, I just don't like whenever there's big blotches of color. Now, this is Twist Light. It is 75/25 merino nylon. So, and it is called Kenergy. $420 yards, and it is fingering. It says it's a #1 weight, which it's the Yarn Council yarn weights. Those confuse me, because I've always known lace, fingering, sport, DK, worsted, Aran. I know them like that, so whenever I see one, all I can think of is lace. And this is not lace, this is fingering. So I cannot wait to try this, and I cannot wait to use it. We picked this up at a yarn store not near our house, about 45 minutes away. We went to the zoo around here and decided to stop by there because I had never been. Sadly, I still have never been, and I'm in a wheelchair, and we parked our car and paid for the parking meter, and we walked to the yarn store, and my kids were in tow, so my husband was with us. I didn't walk, I got pushed to the yarn store, and we couldn't find it, and we were looking all around, and so the sidewalk was here, and there were steps leading down, and the yarn store was down here. So as soon as I saw that, my heart sank, and I'm like, oh, I can't go in. But I mean, my husband, he's crazy. He was all like, well, I can carry you down, and our son can push down the wheelchair down the steps. I'm like, no. I don't need to go in that bad. So I sent him in, and he video called me, and Well, he sent me some pictures of yarn that he thought I'd like, and this was the first one he sent, and that's how well he knows me, because yeah, I picked the first one that he sent me. I was very happy to get that, and at the end of the day, it wasn't a big deal. I couldn't go in. I think that's pretty much it for all the knitting and crochet that I have. My plans are to cast on Icy Spring and hopefully knit some of that. But like I said, it's fingering weight, and it's going to take a little bit to make that. Definitely a lot more than 17 days. But I'm also planning on casting on a flax for my son. I have a skein of cookie yarn from Hobbii, and it is blue, kind of basically blue stripes, and I've already made a flax in it. But the thing is, I have 2 of these skeins, and when my son tried on the flax I had originally made him, I noticed that it kind of picked up in the back to where, you know, as you get older, you need short rows just because like your shoulders get a little bit, you just need more room back there to make the hem even. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'll do. I will give the flax that I just knit to my nephew, who is about a size or 2 below my son, but he's younger. So I figured that will last him a little bit longer. And then I'll just take the cookie yarn that I have, the blue striped one, and knit him another flax. But this time I will do the short rows. So with the flaxes that I made before, I did the second option for the neckline, which is actually new, and I was really excited about this. I've made the flax so many times for my kids, and one of the first times that I made it for my son, I used Plymouth Encore, and I started out by casting on and going straight to the ribbing. Well, after a while, it started to stretch out, like the neckline would stretch out, which was no big deal because he's a little kid. I mean, obviously, it's no big deal no matter what, but I just figured that I would try the second option for the neckline, which is to cast on and go straight into the sweater. And when you're done, you pick up and knit the ribbing. This came out a lot better and a lot cleaner, and it didn't make the neckline as oversized. It basically does what the pattern says it does, and it gives it structure. So I'm going to start knitting a flax for him. No promises on how far I'll get because I have Icy Spring and then the crochet blanket, but I'm definitely planning on doing that for him. My next planned item is taking the Pearly Haze that I have left over from See You There, and I think it's 120 yards per ball, and I have, I think, 5 or 6 of them left, and I'm planning on taking them to make my daughter a cardigan. I have no idea what pattern I'm going to use yet. I've made a ton of flax and flax lights. I've never made the harvest cardigan, and if you're not familiar with Tin Can Knits, they are an excellent pattern writing designers, and they come out with a collection called the Simple Collection. The Simple Collection has a bunch of really awesome, I'm trying to think of the right word. It like building blocks. They have a hat, a sock, a cardigan, and a sweater. The flax is the sweater, harvest is the cardigan. And they're just very, I don't want to say basic because that makes them sound bad, but they're awesome. They're wardrobe staples. That's what I'm trying to say. And I've never made the harvest cardigan. So I'm thinking that as long as my daughter likes how it looks, I'll take that Pearly Haze and make her the harvest cardigan. If not, I'll try to find like a a worsted weight lace cardigan because she definitely really likes the cardigans where there's like the circle swingy skirt kind of, and she can twirl around. I mean, she's 8, of course she likes the twirling. But those are my plans, and I'm really excited to get knitting. Let's see. So, okay, now that's the end of the knitting and crochet. And now I'm going to talk just a tiny bit about books that I'm reading, things that I'm watching, and basic life stuff. So for my neurosurgeon appointment, I went to go see him, and we had a conversation and talked about the different, first of all, what the surgery was going to do, which is I had a myelogram, and they found basically a block on my L1 vertebrae level, and the surgery is going to look at my old tumor and see if it's growing, see if he needs to resect it. He'll try to take out as much as he can, but he basically stressed to me and said that his number one goal is to not to do any harm. But he did tell me that, you know, there's a chance I could make you worse, which terrified me because I can already not walk. I don't want to get worse. But in the end, we decided to go ahead with the surgery, and he'll drain the cysts, any cysts, because I have several of them in my spinal cord, to see if that helps. And basically, I'm going to be terrified from now until after the surgery because I definitely don't want to make things worse. But I told my husband that, and he basically said, you know, Mandy, you're already getting worse. You've gone from P90X and running to like a wheelchair. So you're getting worse without the surgery. With the surgery, there's a chance you could get better or at least stabilize. So, I mean, we don't have to do it, but he logics. I'm more of a feeling type person, and he just basically gets right to the logic on everything, and it's really hard to argue with something like that because he's right. I can either ignore it and get worse, or try something and maybe get worse, but maybe get better. So November 6th is the surgery, and that's pretty much all there is to that. Other than that, we are planning on going to the indoor water park, for a weekend in October, and I'm super excited. We just decided that we were going to do that today. We've been telling our kids that we're going to plan to go in October, and now that the surgery is scheduled, we can definitely start planning that. So we're going to look at hotel rooms tonight and just see. That means that I'll be able to go to the yarn store there, I hope. It's so fun. I really did. They have a yarn store there, and it's beautiful, and they've got a ton of Malabrigo, and I met the ladies that worked there, and they were so kind, and I had such a blast just being able to look at all of the yarns. And even if not getting anything, just going into a yarn store and seeing all the yarn and all the colors and all the samples and all the hooks and knitting needles, and it's just a bunch of good feeling. It makes me really happy to see that. I don't get to go out a lot, so I'm really excited when I get to go to a yarn store. But other than that, I've been reading, and well, I've been listening to audiobooks because I got signed up with Libby, and I'm now officially obsessed with it. So let's see, what did I read first? I finished The Book Eaters, and The Book Eaters was great. I'm trying to think of how I would describe it. Like if there was one major running theme, and I guess that the theme would be, okay, just breaking the rules that society has on you as a person. the short summary of the book is that there's thoughts that some type of being brought this alien race to Earth, and they look like humans, except they're a little stronger, a little bit different. They eat books. And this alien race is slowly becoming extinct because their society has stopped giving birth to the female gender. And you need the female gender to have children in this species. So what happens is there are only 6 females left, so they basically trade them around to the different families, and they have to have so many children, and there are all these terrible rules to where people don't have choice, and you have children and have to basically abandon them and go to the next family, and you can't stay there past the age of 3. It's no good. We're not a good fan of that. But another thing about this alien race is that some of them, instead of eating books for their nutrients and substance, eat brains and human brains. And the species as a whole kind of disregards these people and treats them as second-class citizens. They don't have a choice. They get locked up, and it's just not a good thing. The story was very good, and I did very much enjoy reading it. I always love reading stories where it takes people's perceptions and their perceptions on how they view people and kind of challenge that, kind of say, hey, society as a whole might think that these people are bad, but did you consider this? I really enjoy psychological books. The next book that I read was called, what was it called? Everyone Here is Lying. And for any of these books, I'm not going to remember who wrote them unless it's one of my favorite authors for some reason. So I will put all of the book info down here. But the book that I read was called Everyone Here is Lying. And wow, that title is very true to the word, because everybody in that book spent the entire time lying. It reminded me of like a 90s show like Melrose Place, where just there's all this drama, and I'm sitting here reading it, and as a person who is reading this book, I just kept thinking, I don't like any of these characters. It was 12 hours of me not liking a person in that book. I like drama-free for the most part. Like, I'm listening to these grown people say over and over again, oh no, not the consequences of my actions, over and over and over. And then the story is about this little girl who goes missing, and you think that her dad did something because of something that happens, and you think this and you think that. And there are these grown people, grown adults, who are like, oh no, this girl went missing. It is so sad because my life is affected this way, and me, and over and over and over again. And I'm just like, this 9-year-old, she's missing. It's not about you. Anyway, I finished that book, and I'm very happy I did, because like I said, I didn't like any of the characters in it. It was a good read, and I enjoyed it, but like I said, there was a lot of drama. The next book that I checked out to read was, and I'm still reading, I just pretty much started it, is called Little Brother. Now this is a weird one. So when you open the Libby app, you can look at different genres and different categories that the Libby app has put together. And the category that I stumbled on was like post-apocalyptic or dystopian futures. This book is about a 17-year-old who is very technologically inclined. He does things like messes with RFID chips by putting them in the microwave, or figures out how to hack school surveillance systems, things like that. Him and his friends play an augmented reality game, which automatically makes me think of Pokemon Go, but it's not that. You basically go around looking for clues, and whenever a new clue was released, it was supposed to be during school, but the kid and his friends decide to ditch school to go find the clue, and upon doing that, they end up right in the middle of a terrorist attack. So they have no clue what's happening, and there's an explosion, and they end up running into a military convoy, and they get taken into custody because the military is questioning everybody that's within the area, and it just goes on from there. The main thing that now I'm a couple of hours into this book, and it's starting to remind me of a PSA where it would be like, hey, don't give up your privacy for security, because that's pretty much what the entire book is going on. That the running theme that you shouldn't give up certain things in the fall to give you a false sense of security. I don't know if I'm going to like the book or not. I'm having a hard time empathizing with the main character just because I don't know. He doesn't seem very realistic in certain ways to me. Kind of like almost as if it's an adult talking through a kid instead of an actual kid. Some of the decisions that he makes to me seem like they're in order to prove this security versus privacy point instead of how an actual 17-year-old would react. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying. But I never dislike reading a book. So I guess we'll see where we go from here. I'll finish it just to see what it has to say. It might be my favorite book. It might be just okay. The last book that I'm reading is Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky. They have written it's basically a space opera. It's a series, and it's part 2, and I love it, and they are an amazing author. They have written Children of Memories, which was one of my favorite books I've read this year. It is great. If you have any spare time and you are even this much interested in sci-fi books, definitely check out Children of Memories. It's a great book. I found their books by looking through Audible, and there's a genre called hard science fiction, which is basically what it sounds. It's science fiction, but it goes into a lot of detail about, math and physics and just AI and how things work. And Children of Memories definitely does that, but it's a great story, and I love how it ends. It's just the ending to that book makes my heart so happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, if that ever if these scenarios ever happen, that would be the perfect way that it could go. It's just so heart happy. But that's all I'm reading, and the only thing that I'm watching is YouTube podcasts and the One Piece anime. If you've ever seen the One Piece anime, we are just in the middle of the Arlong arc. Luffy just gave Nami his hat, so that's where we are. We just saw that last night. It is one of my favorite animes, and I've seen all the way up until episode 1060 something. So I just decided, hey, I'm gonna rewatch it. And my husband is along for the ride. So it'll take us a good long time to rewatch all 1,000+ episodes of it, but I'm not a big fan of TV shows nowadays. Although I did like the One Piece live action, and I do like Silo on Apple TV. If you are looking for a good series to watch Silo. I think there's 6 episodes if you have Apple TV. It is a book by Hugh Howey, I think. And it's a series. It's a 3-book series. The first book is good. The second book is amazing. The second book was my favorite, and the third book is okay. But I definitely read the books before I watched the series, and the series is still really good. Sometimes you have like the gripe where it doesn't align as great as it could with the book, but they did a really good job with Silo, so I definitely recommend that. Other than that, I have no more knitting and no more life stuff, so I just want to thank you guys for stopping by, and I hope that I kept you company for a little bit while you crafted, and thank you very much. I appreciate every one of you. And if you could, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Thank you, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Bye.